The knock at midnight. The night was quiet, darker than usual, and the wind carried a strange chill across the old wooden house. The man inside sat alone, staring at the glow of a small lamp. He lived a simple life, far away from the noise of cities. His world was ordinary, silent, and uneventful. But tonight, something was different. At first, he thought it was only the wind playing tricks. A faint sound echoed outside, like footsteps moving slowly through the dirt path. He frowned, because no one ever came here at this hour. The nearest neighbor was miles away. The footsteps grew louder, steady, and purposeful. His heart started to beat faster. Then came the sound he would never forget. 3 slow knocks at his door. The man froze. His chair creaked as he stood. He whispered to himself, "Who could it be at midnight?" Fear and curiosity mixed inside him. He walked to the door carefully, every step echoing in the silence of the house. When he opened it, his breath caught in his throat. Standing in the doorway was not a traveler, not a thief, not even a normal visitor. It was a woman. No, not just a woman. She was tall, her presence glowing faintly under the moonlight. Her eyes were bright, too bright, like stars trapped in glass. She wore a long cloak of silver and deep blue, and on her forehead was a strange crown, delicate and sharp. Her face was beautiful, but her expression was serious. The man tried to speak, but no words came out. His lips moved, but his voice was gone. The woman leaned closer, and her voice was soft, almost like a song carried by the wind. She whispered, "It's time to return." The words sent a shiver down his spine. Return? Return where? He had never seen her before, yet something inside his mind trembled, as if her voice had touched a hidden part of his soul. He finally found his voice and asked, "I think you have the wrong person. I live here alone. I don't know you." But the woman shook her head slowly, her eyes never leaving his. "You are the one I came for. I crossed the stars to find you. You do not remember me, but I remember you. You are not only human, you are mine." The man stepped back, confusion flooding his mind. He had heard strange things before, but nothing like this. He wanted to shut the door, to walk away. But something about her presence held him in place. It was as if the air around her carried power. He looked closer at her hands. They were glowing faintly, like light moving under her skin, and when she moved slightly, the cloak she wore revealed armor underneath. Silver armor covered with markings that glowed softly in the night. "Who are you?" he whispered, his throat dry. The woman tilted her head, and for a moment her stern look softened. "I am Princess Lyra of the Celian Empire," she said, "and you are the one I swore to return for." The man's head spun. The name meant nothing to him. The empire meant nothing. His life had always been normal, ordinary. Yet hearing her words stirred something deep inside, like an echo from a dream long forgotten. She stepped closer, and the ground seemed to hum with each step. "Your life here is not what it seems," she continued. "Your past was hidden, your memories buried, but now the time has come. The galaxy needs you, and I need you." The man shook his head quickly. "No, you must be mistaken. I am just a man. I live here, I work, I survive. Nothing more." But her eyes burned brighter, and her voice carried weight. "You can deny it, but the truth cannot be erased. You saved me once, and because of that, I am here to bring you back, before it is too late." The night grew colder. The silence around them pressed heavy. The man's heart pounded in his chest. Somewhere deep inside, he felt a strange pull, like a hidden door inside his mind, and had been unlocked. Images flickered, bright lights, endless stars, fire, and a scream, but then it was gone, leaving only confusion. He stumbled back, breathing heavily. "I don't understand. I don't know you." Lyra reached out her hand. Her fingers glowed faintly, and for the first time, he noticed the faint shimmer of tears in her eyes. "You don't have to understand yet," she whispered, "but you must trust me. They are coming, and if we wait, it will be too late." The man felt the weight of her words press against him. Who was coming? Why him? And why did her voice sound like something he had once known, long ago? The lamp inside his house flickered, the flame bending as if the air itself had shifted. In the distance the wind carried a low, unnatural hum, almost like engines far away. Lyra's eyes widened. She turned her head toward the sky, her voice urgent now. "They found us. We must leave now, or Earth will pay the price." The man looked up. For a moment he thought he saw lights moving among the stars, far too large, far too bright to be planes. He turned back to the princess. Her hand was still stretched toward him, her voice steady, though her eyes carried desperation. "You must choose," she said firmly. "Stay here and let them destroy everything, or come with me and remember who you truly are." The night no longer felt quiet. The sound in the sky grew louder, vibrating through the ground beneath his feet. The man's chest tightened as he stared at her hand, his mind screaming for answers. But deep inside, a whisper rose in his own heart, one he did not understand. It was soft but powerful. "It is time to return." And with that, the first part of his journey began, the forgotten past. The night sky above Earth was no longer calm. Strange lights moved among the stars, shadows of giant ships that did not belong to this world. The man stood frozen, his mind caught between fear and disbelief. Beside him, the alien princess Lyra kept her hand stretched, her voice firm yet desperate. You cannot stay. They will destroy everything to take you," she said. The man's heart raced. "Why me? I don't know you, I don't know them," he said, almost shouting. But even as the words left his mouth, something inside twisted. Some part of him knew she was not lying. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. "Because you once stood against them. You fought where no one else dared. And you won." The man shook his head. "No, I am just a man. I have never fought anyone." But then it happened. A flash in his mind. A burning sky, fleets of silver ships, screams and then silence. His hands glowing with light, fire shooting from his body as enemies fell before him. His chest tightened and he gasped, clutching the doorframe as the vision tore through him. He stumbled back, his voice shaking. What was that?" Lyra's gaze softened, but her words were sharp. "That was you, long ago, before your memories were hidden, before Earth became your prison. They erased who you were to keep you hidden, but I remembered, and I came." He felt anger rising. "Who erased me? Who took my life away?" She lowered her head for a moment, as if ashamed. "The Council of Worlds. They feared you. They called you too dangerous. They said no human should have that kind of power. So they chose to bury your past here. They thought Earth was far, safe, forgotten." The man's fists trembled. His whole life, everything he believed, suddenly felt like a lie. He had always wondered why he felt different, why he dreamed of stars he had never seen. Now the answer stood before him, wrapped in silver armor. But before he could speak again, the ground shook. The humming sound in the sky grew louder. A blast of light cut through the night, striking the forest not far from his home. Trees cracked and burned instantly, smoke rising in the distance. Lyra grabbed his arm. "They are here. The enemy has found you." The man's body moved without thought. His instincts he didn't know he had, pushed him to follow her. They ran across the field behind his house, the ground trembling under their feet. Above them, 3 massive ships descended, their shadows swallowing the stars. As they ran, his mind kept flashing. Every blast of light, every shadow above seemed to unlock more of his past. He saw battles, worlds crumbling, fleets running. He saw himself standing against armies, his voice commanding, his hands glowing like fire. But the strongest memory was not of war. It was of her, Lyra, standing before him long ago, younger, afraid, bleeding, and he remembered holding her hand, promising, "I will protect you." The memory broke him for a moment. His steps faltered. He looked at her now, running beside him, and realized the truth. This was not their first meeting. This was a return. Lyra pulled him into the shadows of the trees, her voice low but sharp. "They want to erase you again, but this time, if they take you, they will not hide you. They will end you." The man's voice was rough. "Then why not let me fight? Why keep me in the dark?" Her eyes locked on his. "Because if you fight before you are ready, you could destroy more than them. You could destroy everything, even yourself." Before he could answer, the night split open again. A beam of light tore the trees apart. Enemy soldiers appeared, tall figures in black armor, their faces hidden behind glass masks. Their weapons glowed red, and the ground hissed under their feet. One of them raised a device, a voice echoing through the air. "Surrender the human, or this planet burns." The man felt fire in his chest. His fear twisted into rage. His hands trembled, and for a second he saw the same glow from his vision, but Lyra grabbed his wrist, stopping him. "Not yet," she whispered. "They don't know how strong you are." "That is our advantage. If you reveal yourself now, they will unleash everything. Trust me, we must reach my ship, then we can fight on our ground." The enemy soldiers moved closer, their steps heavy. Their leader pointed toward the forest. "Burn it all," he commanded. Flames erupted instantly, fire chasing through the trees like a living beast. The man covered his face as smoke stung his eyes. Lyra pulled him forward, both running through the heat and falling ashes. Behind them the soldiers advanced. The fire painted the night in orange and red. The world he thought he knew was already turning into a battlefield. As they reached the edge of a clearing, Lyra touched a small device on her wrist. A bright circle of light opened in the air, and a ship shimmered into view, sleek, silver, alive with energy. "This is our way out," she shouted over the roar of fire. The man stopped for a second, staring at the ship. His heart raced, his mind screamed. This is not real, this cannot be real. But the heat on his skin, the ships in the sky, the soldiers behind, everything proved it was real. He turned to Lyra, his voice rough. "If I go with you, there is no turning back, is there?" Her expression was fierce, her crown glinting in the firelight. "No, there is no turning back, but there is no choice either. If you stay, Earth dies. If you come, you return to who you were meant to be." The ground shook again, louder, closer. The soldiers' shadows stretched toward them. The man clenched his fists. His chest burned with a light he could no longer ignore. For the first time, he looked at Lyra not as a stranger, but as someone he had once known, once saved, once promised to protect. He nodded slowly, breathing hard. "Then let's go." And as they stepped into the light of the waiting ship, the world behind them burned, while the stars ahead whispered of a forgotten past waiting to tease or return. The enemy's arrival. The ship hummed with strange energy as its silver walls closed around them. The man felt the ground shift under his feet, and in the next moment the burning forest outside was gone, replaced by the vast emptiness of space. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction. Earth glowed behind them, small, fragile, blue. The man pressed his hands against the cold window. His breath caught. He had seen the stars before, but never like this, never so close, never so alive. Lyra stood beside him, her eyes fixed on the darkness ahead. "They will not stop," she said softly. "They will chase us across the stars. They want you because they fear you, and they fear what you could become again." The man clenched his fists. "I don't even know what I am." Before she could answer, alarms filled the ship. A glowing red light flashed across the walls. A voice from the ship's system spoke sharply. "Enemy fleet detected, distance closing, weapons locked." Through the window, massive shadows appeared, ships larger than cities. Their black hulls swallowed the starlight, glowing red symbols pulsing like scars across their sides. Dozens of them formed a wall in space, blocking every path forward. The man's chest tightened, his voice cracked. "There are so many." Lyra placed her hand on the console. The ship's armor shimmered, but her eyes remained fierce. "Do not fear their numbers. They fear you more than you fear them." Her words sent a strange spark through him, like a memory struggling to rise. He saw himself standing in front of such fleets before, his voice steady, his power breaking their walls apart, but the vision faded before he could grasp it. The enemy fleet moved closer. The lead ship sent out a broadcast, a deep metallic voice filling their cabin. "Surrender the human, or this planet, your Earth, will burn." The man's heart froze. They were not only aft. For him, They were ready to destroy Earth, millions of lives, innocent people who knew nothing about this war. He turned to Lyra, his voice heavy. "If I go to them, will they leave Earth alone?" Her eyes darkened. "No. If they take you, they will still destroy your world. They want no trace of you, no chance of your return." His chest burned with anger. For years he had lived quietly, hiding from a truth he never knew. But now, his very existence put Earth in danger. The enemy's voice echoed again, louder, sharper. "Choose now, or Earth dies." Lyra's ship shook as beams of red light shot past them, grazing the hull. The man fell against the wall, but as the ship trembled, something inside him steadied. His fear did not grow. It burned into something else, something older, something stronger. He stood tall, his voice steady for the first time. "If they want me, then let them try." Lyra turned sharply, shock flashing across her face. For a moment she saw not a confused man from Earth, but the warrior she had once known, the one who had stood unshaken before empires, the one who had saved her when all others fled. She pressed her hand on the console, her voice firm. "Then you must remember who you are. The enemy thinks you are only human. Let them think that. And when the time comes, show them what humanity truly is." The ship shot forward, weaving between enemy fire. Explosions lit up the void as smaller fighters swarmed. The man felt the ship tilt and spin, yet his body moved as if it already knew this dance. His hands clenched, his breathing steady. He could feel the rhythm of battle, as if it had always been inside him, waiting to wake. Enemy fighters broke through the defense line, rushing straight at them, the ship's weapons fired, beams of light tearing through their hulls. But for every one destroyed, 3 more appeared. The man grabbed the edge of the koan. "Console," his voice rough. "We can't fight them all." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "No, but we don't need to. Not yet. Our goal is to survive long enough to reach the hidden gate. Once we cross it, they cannot follow." The ship shook violently, sparks flying across the cabin. The man stumbled, but as he fell, his hand brushed against the glowing markings on the console. The ship reacted instantly. Lights surged brighter, systems roared alive. Lyra gasped, staring at him. "It recognizes you," she whispered. "The ship remembers you." The man's veins burned with fire. Images flooded his mind, flying through battles, commanding ships, wielding power no one else could. He pulled his hand back, shaking. "What am I?" Lyra's voice was quiet, but her eyes burned with truth. "You are the reason entire empires feared humanity. You are the weapon they tried to bury, but now you are awake again." The enemy ships closed in. Their leader's voice filled the air once more. "Last warning. Surrender, or Earth dies." The man's chest glowed faintly. His eyes flickered with light. He turned toward the black wall of ships, his voice sharp as steel. "Then let Earth's answer be mine." Outside, the stars seemed to tremble. A single flash of power burst from the ship, bright and wild. It ripped across the void, striking one of the massive warships. The enemy vessel exploded instantly, fire blooming like a second sun. The entire fleet went silent. Shock rippled through the darkness. One human, just one, had erased a ship meant to rule the skies. Lyra stared at him, her voice filled with awe and fear. "They will never forget this night," she whispered. "The galaxy thought you were gone, but now they will remember." The man's hands still trembled. His mind was full of fire and questions, but his voice was steady, carrying the weight of destiny. "Good," he said. "Let them remember humanity." The return of power. The silence after the explosion was heavy. The stars seemed frozen. The wreckage of the enemy warship drifted slowly, burning pieces scattering into the void. For a moment, the entire fleet of black ships held their fire, stunned by what they had seen. Inside Lyra's ship, the man stood still, his chest glowing faintly, his hands trembling with leftover energy. He could not explain what he had done. His mind screamed it was impossible, but his body knew otherwise. It felt natural, almost familiar. Lyra's voice was low, filled with awe. "This is only the beginning. You are remembering." The man's breath came hard. I don't understand. I never trained. I never fought. So why do I know this? She stepped closer, her silver armor catching the glow of the console. Because long ago, you were more than human. You carried a fire inside you, a gift that no other species in the galaxy could hold. That is why they feared you. That is why they erased you. Before he could answer, the ship shook violently. Enemy fire slammed against the shields. The Black Fleet had recovered from its shock, and now it was enraged. Dozens of red beams cut through the darkness, all aimed at one target. Him. Lyra gripped the controls, her voice sharp. Hold on! The ship twisted through the stars, sliding between beams of light. The man was thrown against the wall. But even as the ship spun wildly, his instincts woke further. He felt the enemy's attacks before they came. His body shifted naturally with the ship, like he had flown through such storms 100 times before. Left! He shouted without thinking, and Lyra pulled the ship hard to the side, just as a massive blast ripped through the space they had been. Her eyes widened. You sense them, just like before. The man pressed a hand against his temple, visions tearing through his mind. He saw himself in another life, standing in the heart of a massive fleet, hundreds of ships answering his command. He saw himself wielding light as a weapon, carving through armadas with his bare hands. His voice was calm, his eyes burning. The galaxy had once feared his name, but in the memory, he also saw the Council, alien leaders with cold eyes, declaring him too dangerous. Their words still echoed. Erase him, hide him, let Earth be his prison. The vision broke, and he gasped, pain running through him. Lyra reached for him, but he raised a hand, his voice shaking yet firm. I remember pieces. They stole my life. They buried me. His eyes narrowed, and for the first time his voice carried steel. But they failed. I am still here. The ship's alarm screamed. The enemy fleet had changed formation, surrounding them like wolves circling prey. Dozens of ships closed in, cutting off every escape. Lyra's hands moved fast over the controls. We cannot outrun them. Not like this. We must reach the hidden gate, but they will crush us before we get near. The man stepped forward, his eyes glowing brighter. Then let me fight. She turned sharply, fear in her voice. No. If you push too far before you are ready, you could burn yourself out. You could destroy more than them. But the man looked at Earth, glowing behind them in the distance, fragile and unaware of the danger above. His jaw tightened. If I do nothing, Earth dies anyway. The ship shook as enemy fire tore across the shields. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. The man walked past Lyra and placed his hand on the console again. The ship's lights flared instantly, the system responding as if it had waited for him. His veins glowed faintly under his skin. His voice was steady. I will not let them touch my world. Ooh. Sighed. The ship surged with new energy, shields reforging, weapons charging with power far beyond normal limits. The enemy ships opened fire again, but their beams bent and scattered, unable to break through the glowing barrier. Lyra stared at him, her voice trembling. You are becoming who you were. The man closed his eyes, and in the darkness he saw more memories flooding back. He saw his name shouted in fear and respect across the stars. He saw battles where entire empires broke before a single human. He saw Lyra kneeling beside him after a great war, her voice soft, promising she would never forget him. When he opened his eyes, the glow in them was stronger. His voice was cold, sharp, full of certainty. I am no one's prisoner. The enemy fleet moved in closer, forming a wall of death. Their leader's voice thundered across the comms. You cannot escape. You cannot win. You are alone. The man raised his hand, and the ship itself seemed to obey his will. Energy swirled around it, building into a storm. His voice echoed with power. I am not alone. Humanity is with me, and humanity has always been enough. With a single motion, he released the energy. A blinding wave tore outward, slamming into the nearest ships. Entire squadrons shattered instantly, burning wreckage scattering like sparks into the void. Lyra covered her face from the glare, her voice breaking in awe. This This is the power they feared, the power they tried to bury. But the man did not stop. He guided the ship through the flames, his hands glowing brighter. Every attack, every strike felt natural, as if he had done it his whole life. The enemy ships tried to regroup, but their walls were breaking. Their fear was clear. The man's voice cut through the chaos, low but sharp. They wanted me forgotten, but now the galaxy will remember. Lyra's heart pounded as she watched him. In that moment, she realized he was not just her savior from the past. He was something greater, a force the galaxy could not control. The ship burst through the enemy line, leaving fire and broken metal in its path. Ahead, a shimmering gate appeared, a spiral of light hidden in the stars. Lyra's eyes widened. The hidden gate! We made it! But as they neared it, her expression darkened, for behind them more enemy ships were pouring in, fleets stretching endlessly. And somewhere deeper in the darkness, she sensed something even worse was coming. She turned to him, her voice tight. This is only the beginning. If you cross that gate, the whole galaxy will know you have returned, and they will come with everything they have. The man's eyes still glowed. His voice was steady, carrying no fear. Then let them come. This time, I will not run. This time, humanity stands. And with that, the ship plunged into the gate, leaving Earth behind and entering a galaxy about to remember its most dangerous warrior, the final stand. The hidden gate swallowed them whole. The ship shook as waves of light bent around it. Space itself twisted and tore. The man gritted his teeth as flashes of strange worlds passed before his eyes. Planets burning, oceans of stars, endless battles from a forgotten past. His memories and the present mixed together, blurring into one storm. Then silence. The ship broke free into a new region of space. Ahead stretched the Celian Empire's homeworld, a giant planet of silver towers and glowing shields. Its surface shined like a jewel in the dark, but the beauty was shadowed by war, for orbiting above the planet were fleets of black warships, more massive than any they had faced before. Lyra's breath caught, her voice low. They are already here. They want to crush us before you awaken fully. The man's eyes narrowed. His chest glowed faintly. Then we make our stand here. The comms crackled, and the enemy leader's voice thundered across the void, deeper and darker than before. You should have stayed hidden, human. Now you will die, and the princess with you. Thousands of ships lit their weapons. The void blazed red. Entire armadas shifted into formation, ready to erase them in one strike. Lyra's hands trembled on the controls, but the man placed his hand over hers. His voice was calm, unshaken. Don't be afraid. This is not their battlefield. It's ours. And then it began. The first volley came like a storm, beams of fire streaking across the darkness. Lyra's ship twisted between them, shields screaming under the pressure. Enemy fighters swarmed like insects, their weapons tearing through space. But the man was not afraid. His instincts burned awake, his eyes glowed like fire, and his hand pressed against the console again. The ship roared with new life, shields reforging, weapons burning brighter than suns. He guided the ship not like a pilot, but like a warrior dancing. Every strike they dodged, every blast they returned, was guided by his will. Enemy ships exploded in flames, the battlefield turning into chaos. Lyra stared at him, awe in her voice. You are fighting like you never left. The man's voice was cold, sharp. Because I never did. They only made me forget, but my power was always here. Yet even as he struck down ships, the enemy fleet kept coming, their numbers endless. Their leader's voice taunted across the void. For every ship you destroy, 10 more rise. You cannot fight forever. The man's chest glowed brighter. His veins burned with energy. He felt the storm inside him rising, a dangerous, unstoppable force. He remembered the last time he used it. Worlds had broken, armies had fallen, and the Council had erased him to stop him from destroying everything. Lyra saw the fire building in him and grabbed his arm, her voice desperate. If you unleash it all, you may not come back. You could lose yourself, just like before. But the man looked at the burning fleets. at Earth shining far behind them across the stars, and at Lyra, the princess he had once saved, the one who had waited for him. His voice was steady. "If I do nothing, we all fall. If I fight, they will remember why humanity was feared." The ship shook as enemy dreadnoughts closed in, massive cannons powering up, each one strong enough to shatter a planet's surface. The princess's world was seconds away from destruction. The man stepped forward, fire in his eyes. His voice thundered inside the cabin. "Then it ends now." He spread his hands and the ship itself responded. Energy surged through the walls. The entire vessel glowed like a living star. Lyra shielded her eyes as the glow grew unbearable. The enemy fired their cannons. A wall of red light rushed toward them, enough to end everything. But the man roared, a sound that shook the stars and unleashed the storm inside him. A wave of pure energy erupted from his body, blasting through the ship, exploding outward into the void. It hit the enemy fleet like a tidal wave, ripping through their shields, tearing their warships apart. Dozens of ships vanished instantly, hundreds more shattered. The Black Armada broke like glass under the weight of one human's power. The enemy leader's voice screamed across the comms, "Impossible! No human can—" But his words were cut short as his flagship erupted in flames, vanishing into dust. Silence fell again. The battlefield was filled only with drifting wreckage, burning pieces of what had once been a fleet powerful enough to conquer worlds. Lyra lowered her arm, her eyes wide with awe and terror. She whispered, "One man, one human, against thousands." The man's cheese. Saint still glowed, his body trembling with leftover fire. His eyes dimmed slowly as the storm inside him settled. He fell against the console, breathing hard. Lyra caught him, her voice trembling. "You saved us. You saved my people." He looked at her, his voice quiet but sharp. "No, I saved more than that. I reminded them." Outside, the stars still burned with wreckage. But across the galaxy, the message was already spreading. Fleets destroyed, armies broken. A single human had stood against an empire and won. The Council would hear, the empires would hear, and they would all know the truth they had tried to bury. Humanity had returned. Lyra held him close, her voice soft but filled with strength. "The galaxy will never be the same." His eyes closed, his voice steady even in exhaustion. "Good. Let them remember us. Let them remember humanity." And as silence returned to the stars, the legend began again. A legend of the human who could not be erased. A legend the galaxy would never forget.